I'm the co-chair. We've got Ken and we've got Amy. And we've got Ms. Carter. And we got Ms. Hirsch who's going to be talking to us later. So Ms. Lowe is not here, so Ms. Carter is going to step in for Ms. Lowe today.
Well, that's, I don't know that I can do that, but I am going to use this opportunity to ask you guys for a little bit of feedback. Once I get this, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about this and then start passing it out. And while I'm passing it out, I'm going to let Ms. McDonald just share with, oh, okay. Cool, thanks. What you're about to receive is just something we'd like your feedback on. It is broken down in student, teacher, and parent agreements, and these are things that these folks can do to help their kid be successful. So just if you look at that and you see something that you think should be added, or if you see something that you're like, oh no, then if you would please just make note of that on there, and then give it back to me before you run away today. And then also, if you'll just sign in on this handy dandy sheet that will be passed around as well. And then real quick, by the way, if I were Ms. Lowe, I would probably share that we endured a round of STAR testing successfully. Everybody's still standing. And actually, not Ms. Lowe, but as one who's experienced testing on many, many campuses over the years, many campuses with more kids than this, but still, I've never seen it be more smooth. So, Ms. Faley, who was the guru organizing it, she needs a major pat on the back because it was insanely smooth. So, and I'll be quiet now and ask Ms. Oh, sorry.
I need to add a little information on
Okay.
this. On this parent-student teacher compact, it is a Title I requirement that we ask for your feedback. And as you know, Keeling is a Title I school, so each year you will have the opportunity to see that, and we can make the changes that are necessary to meet your needs as parents, and then we will also ask for some input from the teachers at some point.
And we signed something like this
For the whole school.
We did sign something like this at the beginning of the year, right? The same thing.
Yes, you did sign this. Whatever
All those
changes we decide that we need to make now will be implemented next year.
Another really exciting thing we have coming up is our sound party. Ms. McDonald's just going to ask for your help real fast, and then we'll be done.
So first of all, I want to say thank you because you guys already helped so much. We're getting ready to have our annual sound project party. So of course, if you've lived through 6th grade, you realize that the kids have been working really, really hard on building their own instruments. And every year, it's really impressive. We see new designs. This year, I have like 4 or 5 violins, and I have this like 4 horn trumpet thing that like operates via a garden valve system. It's super cool. So thanks again for helping us fund our amazing band that comes. Rattle Tree Marimba is super cool because they build up their own instruments, and then of course the kids get to cycle through each musician with their instrument and check out the physics behind that particular instrument, and then we have a super fun concert, which you guys are funding. Thank you so much. I'm also looking for some additional help with just some parent volunteers, and I've already gotten some yeses, people who want to come and help kind of direct kids through recess. Super exciting, and through different sessions. So if you would like to get involved, if you want to see all of these amazing projects, this is your big, exciting opportunity to do so. So yeah, that's my thank you and my ask for support.
When is it?
It's going to be April the 25th. We're looking for parents to come from about 9:30 to the end of the school day of like 2:47. And if you'd like to volunteer to help out, you can email me, megan.mcdonald@austinin.org. Megan McDonald. Dot. I always forget the dot. All right, yes.
Is it only, do you need people for the whole time, or people can come in shifts, or is that really not?
I would like people for the whole day, but if you can only come for lunch and recess, that would be great, too. You know, it's a lot of kids. But, you know, it's recess. It's like their one middle school recess experience. It's exciting. So that would be, if you can only come for a small chunk, that would be the chunk to come to.
What time?
That's like sort of like in the 11 to 1-ish, 11 to 1-ish stage. It's not the most exciting part. The most exciting part is where the kids, they designate a kid or two from each class that has the coolest instrument or plays the coolest song, and then they stand on stage and they perform for the entire 6th grade. So that's definitely the coolest part, and that's later in the afternoon. So, thank you. All right, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're going to do the Magnet Director's Report?
Okay, so now I'm really mean. And by the way, normally I don't go with the Secret Service. But we're a little bit short on people this morning, so I just wanted to be plugged in. So if occasionally I'm like, that's why I apologize, because I don't wear this all the time. So anyway, okay. So a few. I'm sure I'm gonna miss something, but I just have to share a few celebrations first. And that's we had our representative at the Texas Geographic Bee went and competed. Somebody in this room might know him fairly well. And he did a great job. Only missed one question out of all 8 rounds or something like that. So absolutely amazing. We also had our Science Olympiad team, went to the regional tournament. And email I got said they finished either 1st or 2nd place in all 23 events.
Wow.
Right? That's pretty insane. Overall, I got 1st place in the B division, and they're headed to state in May. So that was pretty spectacular. All of our orchestras, all of them, all superior ratings. So, yeah.
We got it going on.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And it was funny, Jarrett, after the top orchestra, he said that they played for the judges. And he said it was absolutely amazing. He could hear a couple of things that just weren't quite right, but still all superior ratings. And then they circled around, and he really didn't imagine that they would do any better for the recording, but they played again for recording, and he said they played even better. It's the best he had ever heard it, and he couldn't find anything wrong with it. So that's pretty awesome. Our ink blot won the Gold Crown Award at the CSPA. I'm not sure what that stands for. Convention in New York.
Scholastic Press Association.
There you go.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
There goes. Do Sandra.
That was an award given to only one middle school in the entire nation.
Nation.
Nation. So
What is the
it's a compilation of like poems. It's very cool.
Speak to the video, Miss Carter.
Oh,
What's
sorry.
the plot?
Hi. Inkblot. Inkblot is a publication that is of our kids' work. It's not necessarily.
It's a literary.
It's not.
Is
Yeah.
it a class or no? They submit stuff to it, right?
Well, it is a class, but they get submissions from the whole school. But the class puts it together. They come up with a theme every year that's different. They do all the designing. They do all the artwork for it. It's an amazing piece of work.
Award winning.
Obviously, yeah.
Apparently so.
And it'll be for sale, I'm sure, in May. People should keep an eye out for it.
Then on just a slightly different note, we've finished up, other than a few stragglers, all of our math placement testing. I did one of the testing sessions, the afternoon makeup one, And I just have to share that it was so adorable to see the fifth graders come in and sit down and to watch them think so hard. It was absolutely beautiful and refreshing for me. I was sorry that I wasn't able to be at the parent reception during that portion, but anyway, it was absolutely adorable. And thank you to anybody in here who helped with any of the parent receptions. I've heard nothing but wonderful feedback from parents that attended. So I appreciate the sort of informal, get to know each other, ask the questions you've got sort of setting. That's it.
That's
If
a
we're
lot.
doing kudos, can I just add that last weekend the top band and the top orchestra went to Dallas, and they both got all superior ratings and top middle school band and top middle school orchestra at the entire event.
Wow. Is that a state level thing?
Hmm?
Was that state level?
Yes, that was
Wow.
in Dallas. It was bands from orchestras from all over the band, so.
That's going on.
Thank you. See, I knew I'd miss something.
That's a lot. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Carter? All right. Did we get the minutes are out? Everyone should have had a chance to look at the minutes. Does anyone have any comments, questions, changes? Can I have a motion to approve minutes? Sally,
To approve the minutes.
Amy
I
Moore
second.
does, and Gita Suggs seconds that. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. I had a really, really nice letter that I was going to read out as a thank you, but unfortunately I ran out the door without the letter printed. So I'm gonna just bring that up next time. It was a thank you from Ms. Scott and Ms. Wagner. KMag sent them, and I'll give it next time, but on a conference in New York, and they were extremely appreciative of it. And so I will read that letter next time. So I'm going to hand it over to start the GPA discussion. I'm gonna hand it over to Ms. Carter.
All right, are y'all ready for a little activity? I know you don't come to these, and I'm sorry, video. This may be kind of
You
hard
can do this at
to,
home.
yeah. All right, so this is super simple, but it's just gonna get everybody to kind of talk a little bit and maybe think about something you haven't thought of before, hopefully, I don't know. So our topic now is gonna be GPA. And to kick things off, I'm going to read two ends of a spectrum, okay? So one end is, when choosing high school courses to take, my child should choose it purely based on how it helps his or her GPA. Okay? So when choosing high school courses to take, we're gonna take them purely based on how it's gonna help my kid's GPA. Versus the other end of the spectrum is, when choosing high school courses, we're not going to worry about GPA at all. My kid's going to take whatever they want to. Okay? So that's the other end of the spectrum. So what I'd like for y'all to do is pretend that this is I'm going to choose it purely based on GPA end. Okay? So if you feel strongly that that's what you are buying into and that's what you believe, I want you to stand close to the window wall over here. And then if you're at the other end of the spectrum of, we're not going to worry about GPA, we're just gonna take whatever my kid wants to take, then stand here near the nice little shelf, or anywhere in between, wherever your thoughts or opinions fall, okay? And then I'm gonna ask people, somebody from each sort of area, to kind of explain why you're there, okay? On your mark, get set, go.
Not sure how we're gonna do this.
You can't stand on top of each other. If you can accomplish that, go for it. I'll get out of here.
In my car, standing behind you. Great. That's really an opinion.
Nobody's all the way back.
Ms. Carter, may
Yeah.
I add another question at the end of this to SIP related, once you have
Oh,
to speak?
absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so would anybody like to jump out there and tell us why you are where you are? Yes, ma'am.
I guess I feel like my kids should take stuff that they're interested in and be happy and learn stuff versus worry about what the number is.
Okay.
Too many times my daughter has said, "This is what you want me to do, Mom."
Okay.
It's all about the journey.
Nice.
I mean, you want to get somewhere productive at the end, but if you're not enjoying it and you're burned out and you end up hating school because you hate your classes, then you have accomplished nothing.
Yeah, but then you're all the way over there.
Well,
That's
you
just
should
kind
be-
of crushy over there. You really need to be over there.
I'm right in the middle of
Okay.
Yeah, I think we definitely have an eye on the GPA, but we want our kid to enjoy exploring something that might be a little bit risky, but he might really dig.
Awesome.
Well, our work here is done.
Is there anybody?
Without knowing exactly how the GPA thing works, the only thing I would say is, I mean, I would want them to take more challenging classes, you know, if I thought, you know, they could do it, like take the pre-AP or the AP, which I think affects the GPA, but more for the reason of like, you know, keeping them challenged, you know, but not too excessive or not take basket weaving because, you know, but that element is in there definitely.
So it's more about the journey than the number.
Exactly.
But I think
It's not gonna work for
I
that
think
Langenberger.
a lot of this come from the base point that we're going to want our kids to take challenging classes, but you have to say at some point, this is enough. It's enough that you are taking pre-AP or AP Algebra 2. You do not have to take advanced, you know, nuclear physics, engineering, calculus. That, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You
But
gotta know when to
this
draw the
breakdown
line.
that we just did, you didn't say
Yeah, I know.
anything about level of classes, you just said
Yeah.
GPA.
care about GPA or not, right, basically. So, there's lots
Well,
of things that could mean.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
going to play devil's advocate just a little bit, just to like mix it up a little bit. So my son took typing, right? And it's really interesting because there's a lot of discussion about don't take typing because it's going to mess up your GPA, right? And of course I didn't worry about that, and I'm really over on this side. The only reason I'm standing kind of here is because it is interesting that as they get older and as sometimes I think they do it for themselves, they're like, I really want to get the top GPA that I can, and really, so they do have to think about the classes that they choose, and do they want to learn things and maybe if there's a class that's not weighted, could they learn that content somewhere else, or could they, and I would never change the idea of taking typing or taking intro to orchestra or any of those things that are not weighted. But it is interesting to think about as they get older and as they're thinking about the colleges they want to get into, that it is something that does come up, that GPA is something that they, you know, it's used for college admission.
But I guess that's the thing is, I mean, it's different when it's important to us versus important to them.
Exactly, and that's what I've
Right.
noticed. It didn't matter at all to me, but I've noticed my 10th grade son now cares. He's trying to raise the GPA, which it's already really high, but you know what I mean? It's interesting to watch them do that themselves.
So,
And I think GPA, I mean, I've started thinking about it this year because I hear a lot of talk of parents with 8th graders who are looking at which high school they're going to go to. And, well, if I send them to LASA, it's going to be, you know, that might be where they should be, but if I send them to their neighborhood school, they're more likely to be in the top 10%, which then guarantees them a spot where they want to go at a less expensive state school, and that's huge. So that's like, you know, that adds in, and the kids, they don't know to think about that at this point, but it's a concern.
Yeah, so as a high school student without a lot of elective options, at least back in the day, I love all the classes that they can take at middle school and then what I imagine they can take in high school. And I think the more exposure you can get to different classes, different courses, different fields, at least it's going to help you figure out what you want to do in college rather than what do you want to major in? I have no idea. Or you decide you want to be an engineering major and then, I hate that after a year and you've already taken all these classes. So I think the more you can take now while it's still free, the better off for college, grad school, and whatever. So that's why I'm all the way over here.
all right.
We touched on everything that I wanted to say in this game, but shall we go back to our seats?
Yeah. Y'all can have a seat. Thank you guys very, very much.
say one thing that I don't know if everybody realizes that LASA has gone and the whole district has gone to unranked.
The whole district, I thought it was just.
No, just LASA.
No, but didn't she, I thought that the principal of LASA said they couldn't do it for their school.
No, 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 that was the whole point of the whole board policy that was passed.
But you say everybody have a choice?
Every school can choose, but the only schools that are doing it are LASA and Ambridge.
I should say the choice.
So real quick, I know some of you are all into this conversation. I know that when I was a 6th grade parent and even a 7th grade parent, when you were talking about weighted and non-weighted classes, I had no idea what they were talking about. I really felt like the kid who was, in middle school and they were talking about sex and everyone's like, I don't understand. That's me. And they're like, oh, you'll get to it. I'm like, oh, I want to know now. So we're going to have Allie give us, I've got a handout this is actually from the LASA page, just explaining GPA, but she's going to give you a breakdown of what it actually means. And this all started because someone in this room actually came up to me and said, hey, did you know that if you take the 2 classes you take in math might not count to your GPA because we take 6 math classes if they start in 7th grade. And I didn't know that, and so it helped me to dive a little bit deeper and say, okay, well, I don't really understand what this means. And I have come to that understanding through some other parents in here, but I thought it would just be helpful for us just to get a basic understanding of what GPA is, what a cumulative rank is, what a cumulative and a ranked GPA is. So I'm going to go and let Allie, and Allie, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I can introduce myself. I'm Allie Hirsch. I have met some of you before. I'm going to be starting here within a couple weeks as a 7th grade counselor. Currently I'm working at McCallum, and prior to that I was middle school 6th, 7th, and 8th grade English teacher for almost 15 years. So but I worked in predominantly in private schools in San Francisco and in Spain. So I'm learning, I go to UT, finishing up my degree there now, so I'm learning a bit as the rules are changing. I mean, this is, as we know, the woman I work with at McCallum, Mindy Kroom, has been in AISD for 30 years, and she's seen the trends in GPA and the rankings come and go 4 or 5 times over that. So anyway, do any of you, so some of you have older high school students, and so you'll be managing a couple of different rules, especially if your child is going to be a senior next year. But just to start off, what I wanted to say, I forget, I think Amy said this, but something about your child, you want to think about a little bit on one hand about who your child is and what is your value and what is your family's value, and not just about education, but about your child's self-concept and stress level and all of that. And that might change. Your child might be stress-free, cool as a cucumber in 7th grade, and get a little bit more burned out as he or she gets older. It might be the opposite. I saw a lot of really nervous and overburdened and worried middle schoolers, and by the time they got to high school they had figured out the system and had sort of had everything down pat. So it's really about being attentive to your child's social, emotional, and academic development, all while keeping in mind the future and staying in the present. So it's a big job. I'll just share with you a little bit. My older brother, he went, just because it's similar to I think what some of you are looking at. So in 7th grade he was certain he was going to be an entrepreneur, business. He had that. He took all of those classes. He was headed that way. And my family is more in academia, so it was a little bit like, well, okay. And he took all those classes. He was prepared. He went to Middlebury College. He started as a business major, and then he took a couple of math and science classes there and really got into it, and then decided to switch over to the med school track. Well, in med school he got into decided he liked the research track, so then he added on a PhD to his MD, and then he decided he didn't like adults, and now he's a pediatric infectious disease researcher and doctor. And so just to illustrate that you can know your child and be really attentive to him or her in 7th grade, but his vision, her career path might change. My own career path is changing. I have my master's in English and was an English teacher for 15 years, and then so again, it is about the journey and figuring out what's the future, but also understanding that might shift a little bit. So the thing about what your family value is for university is really important as well too. Because so getting down to GPA, your transcript is going to, your child's transcript, not your transcript. Your child's transcript is going to have the cumulative GPA, so it's going to have all the courses on it, and everything that they take in middle school is going to have a J on it for junior high. So if you're going to, if your family value is staying in Texas, going to college in Texas, that's definitely something to consider. If going to UT and getting that top 10% ranking is something that's really important for you as a family, then keeping that in mind all throughout the path is going to be important. If you and your child want to, Stanford, Harvard, all of that, then I'm thinking of taking the dual enrollment opportunities to take ACC classes, which are weighted as they get in high school, weighted on the 5-point scale as well. Well, Harvard's not going to care if your child took a class at ACC. But here in Texas, it might make a difference. So again, really thinking about what's important to you and your child, just to reiterate that theme. So the cumulative GPA is all the classes are listed on the transcript. The ranked GPA is just the 4 core classes and the 2 years of language. However, so your kids are going to be taking 6 years of...
Some kids. Those kids who take algebra in 7th grade. In 7th grade are going to be taking potentially taking 6 math classes if they take 1 each year. Those who start in 8th grade are going to be taking 5.
And they'll take the 4 best years of that for their GPA.
Not the 4 most recent, the 4 highest.
The 4 best, yeah, and also same with languages. But it's another thing to think about too. This is where you and your child might have a different value system, especially now as they're younger. They might say something like, "Well, I'm going to take Spanish in 8th grade, and then in 9th grade, and then I'm done." Well, we really want to encourage, if your child is taking Spanish 1 in 8th grade, we really want to encourage more language exploration, deeper learning, not just knocking it out for the credit. And I'm assuming that that's probably something that you all, sounds like that you all would care about, not just checking courses off the list. So cumulative GPA. Also, if your child is taking algebra in 7th grade, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that math is a strength for your child and is something that is interesting to her or him, that he will want to continue to go all the way to AP Stats in senior year, or AP Calculus in senior year, which are the classes you can take if you progress through the 6-year system. So again, those kinds of things, you could really bomb 7th grade algebra as a 7th grader because it's fast paced, it's hard, all of that. But if it's something that your child really likes and wants to keep challenging himself, that's okay, because theoretically the skills and the strengths that he might develop over the high school might cause him to have a higher grade later on with calculus, etc. So those are some things to consider. Just another question was about...
Well, real quick, so do y'all understand the difference between cumulative and rank? Does that make sense to y'all?
No.
Okay, rank, just go real quick. There are 2 different kinds of GPA.
Cumulative are all your courses.
I think we're in a
From
real much
from
lower
what grade to
level.
what grade?
I'm sorry?
And for a lot of this is brand new.
Any high school credit class.
Any high school credit class.
Well, that is on your transcript. Colleges are not really going to care about Spanish with a J, Spanish 1 with a J on it from 7th grade or 8th grade.
But it's going to be counted into
in their cumulative. And that could be important if you're looking at schools, private schools out of Texas. Could be.
So real quick, so ranked GPA is something used by Texas public schools and the top 7%, every year it differs, but the top 7 or 8%, 10% get into the various schools automatically, directly. They ought to get automatic admission if they're within the top, whatever it is, and I think it's UT is around 7, some of the other schools are around 10%. They use the ranked GPA, and that's the one where she talked about where it takes the 4 core classes. All other colleges look at the cumulative GPA, which includes everything. So outside of Texas, and if you go, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go to LASA, we can get into that because that is an unranked high school. It's one of 2 unranked high schools, and so they don't use the ranked GPA in.
They will for people who are in the top 7 to
Okay.
10% and want to go to the automatic admit schools in Texas, but they don't put a GPA on your transcripts.
And what it means at LASA to be unranked is that because the students there are so, in general, so high achieving and getting above 4.0 GPA is quite usual there. 92% pass, get 3 or higher on all their AP classes at LASA. So to be in the top 10%, they rank your top 10% at LASA, but below that, you're not ranked. Because that actually benefits the other students more. Because you can be a straight A student with a very, very high GPA at LASA and be in the 25th percentile, but you still have straight A's and amazing test scores and are a brilliant student.
What that means for college admissions is a lot of colleges, they want to do it easily. So if you come in with a rank and it says you're in the 2nd quartile, they'll just toss you out automatically and they won't look at your holistic application. And so by saying unranked, it forces them to put you in a different pile and actually evaluate your application based on your GPA, your scores, your SAT, your classes that you took in college and in high school and things like that. So anecdotally, it has proved positive for lots of students to get in more places being unranked because they have to look at the whole application, and students compete strongly when they look at the whole application.
So does anyone have any questions? Do you understand the difference between ranked GPA and cumulative GPA and unranked? Okay, just wanted to.
Westlake is the same way as well with unranked.
Right, Westlake only ranks the top 10%.
Only top 10%. And the top 10% then, and why that's important, as we've said a couple times now, is automatic entry to Texas public schools, except for UT and A&M. And that is top 7% this year, but it vacillates between 7 and 8. So, but I have to say at McCallum, we're seeing lots of wonderful students at 15%, 20th% get into UT. So again, it's not necessarily you're not going to go to UT if you're not in the top 10%. It's just it's not automatic. Okay, so
and real quick, as it applies to the kids, the classes the kids are taking now.
Right.
None of the classes the kids are taking now will affect their ranked GPA. And this would be geometry, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and the languages, right?
they have 2 years of
But they will,
languages.
go ahead.
So 2 years of languages are included in your ranked GPA. 2 years of languages are included in your ranked GPA.
And that's the same where it's the highest, right?
It's the highest. So again, this is where it's the thing where if little Stevie says, well, I took Spanish in 8th grade and then in 9th grade, so I'm done with my languages, Mom, I don't want to take Spanish anymore. And the grades weren't so hot. It's gonna happen to me. You know, that's something to look at in your family. Right. That's in your ranked GPA, right? But you know, on the other, again, if you're gonna, so this is all I think a family and an individual sort of counselor know your kid discussion. But yes, 2 years of languages, they can be the top 2 if they take more than 2 years.
Oh, so Ms. Hirsch, I have a sophomore at McCallum, and on the report cards, it just shows cumulative GPA, I believe. The ranked GPA doesn't get calculated until later, is that right?
Transcript. Report card versus transcript, are you talking about?
It's my understanding that the ranked GPA would show up on the Naudiance in their senior year.
So we don't see ranked GPA for a long time.
I think I heard, when does it start being calculated?
Ooh, I don't know when it starts to be calculated, but.
So you won't know your rank when you're a freshman? You won't get the first grades and they'll say, and your rank is X?
Yeah, it's based on 4.
So they don't, you're saying, but they have to, okay, yeah, well, anyway, yeah, that would be a.
So how can you know along the way where you are? I mean, you
Maybe
can.
I just don't.
Right, or again, this is a question where you can evaluate, talk to the registrar. Gail at McCallum, I'm sure she could press a couple buttons and give you an estimate. But that's something I don't know when exactly is ranked calculated. Certainly.
I apologize if you already
No.
mentioned this. Is there a higher weight for
Yeah.
pre-AP, AP,
Yeah.
honors? How does that
Yeah,
work?
so those are on a 5-point scale. So honors, AP, pre-AP, ACC, those are all on a 5-point scale, where an A is a 5, then 4.8, and then 4.6, going down to, whereas unweighted starts at 4 for an A, 3.8 for an A minus, all the way down to 2.0 for a C, I think. So
So
hopefully we won't have to
there is a
worry about
difference, there are
that.
weighted and non-weighted classes.
Yeah.
Do y'all, does that make sense to y'all? Okay.
Is it
Yes.
is it truly just, the only things that are weighted are the honors, AP,
Honors, pre-AP,
ACC,
AP.
that's it, there's not weighted, not a middle category?
Nope, there's no middle category.
weighted.
But again, this is one of those subtle nuances that the kids will start to play the game as they get older. You can elect, if you have a really strong GPA, we're starting to see juniors and seniors elect to take classes just pass-fail, so it won't impact their GPA at all. If they have a really strong 4.6 or something, and they're saying, well, I'm taking heroes throughout history, it's an elective, but it's an honors class, I'm just gonna take it pass-fail just to ensure that my GPA stays super strong. So again, there's little tricks and games along the way that you can work with, but I would not start worrying about that kind of thing at this point in middle school.
Just to make sure I understand this, so if a child takes algebra and geometry in middle school, it's not part of their ranked GPA, is that my understanding?
If he takes 4 more math classes.
If they're
Yeah, that's right. I was
higher
curious about that.
4 math classes are included in your ranked GPA.
Right, okay.
So if little Stevie says algebra, geometry in Keeling, and then algebra 2, pre-cal, cal, and then either AP calculus or AP stats,
Okay.
then those 4 high school classes can count.
Or whatever the top 4 grades are.
Whatever the top, you can.
Even if it's the algebra and geometry.
Sure, you can select those.
Okay.
Is that for all 4
Great.
classes or just math?
It's all core classes: math, English, science, history, social studies. Those 4, and then 2 languages. 2 years of languages count. And again, you can select the top 2, which is often what we see with the 9th graders is, well, I'm done with my language right now, and then we'll see the parents saying, "Your grades aren't so hot. Keep pushing and try to raise those grades."
Is that going to be impacted at all by the change in graduation plans? Because do I not understand correctly that now it's 3 years of a foreign language and only 3 years of social studies?
For distinguished plan.
Which is the highest level, right?
Sure.
So
But
now
that's,
are they
as
only using?
far as I know, for your ranked GPA, it's not impacted by House Bill 5.
But
That
What if
could
you don't
change.
take,
only use
if you don't take a 4th year of social studies, then how does that impact your ranked GPA? Is that what you're asking, Kristen?
Yeah, and if you take the 3rd year of I guess they just wouldn't
Yep.
count the 3rd year, but then, yeah, social studies.
I think that there's sort of replacement classes that can be, if you're in, I think there's classes like maybe art history for, there's going to be other classes that you'll cycle into to count as that class. And I think that specific question is something that we've been tossing around, unsure how that's gonna play out.
And the fact that you choose to graduate on the distinguished plan will have no impact on your GPA?
Everyone,
Like, nobody cares?
not really. I mean, out of Texas, no way. They don't. In Texas, sure. I mean, now, so the distinguished plan as we have it now is more rigorous than what's being implemented for next year. In fact, they took away.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yes, for sure. The only difference is the algebra 2. You don't need the 4 advanced measures for the distinguished plan, which would be things like, and again, this wouldn't necessarily impact your children since they are taking advanced measures anyway, just by nature of being here at Keeling and then potentially at Losser and McCallum, but advanced measures are scoring a 3 or above on an AP, or taking an honors class, or taking a dual enrollment ACC class. So that's been taken away from the distinguished plan. So.
Are you saying nobody really cares what plan you take except for it's Texas State School?
Yeah, if you're applying to Harvard, they're not going to say, ooh, distinguished plan.
Right.
Yes, you're in.
But it will affect your cumulative if you're taking classes that, that pushes you to take more that are more challenging, which then does affect your applications to non-Texas schools.
Sure, yeah. There's a lot more complicated than when we were applying to college, which was, I like this school, I have good grades.
Yes.
Hope if I can.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't get into college.
What's the maximum number of years of language you can take? So you can max out at 6 years of math.
Can you repeat that real loud for the camera?
What is the maximum number of years of language you can take? So
It's like Spanish 5. Spanish 5, I believe. It's 5. Level 5.
Is it an option to take, not in middle school, but take multiple languages and you find?
Yeah, oh yeah. And quite a few kids will do that on the new I'll spell Spanish and French, or Japanese and Spanish. It's common for sure.
This is kind of segueing right into our next topic, which is also House Bill 5. So we can ask both of those questions. Does anyone have any more questions about the difference between cumulative GPA, ranked GPA, weighted or unweighted classes? We don't need to know a whole lot about that because we only have a few classes, but I thought it's kind of important just to know a little bit.
And the one question I can follow up with is, when does it start? When does it start, and how do you find that out as a student? When can you start accessing what your ranked GPA is? And I think it's not until junior, senior year on Naviance.
I just wanted to add, if anybody has band or orchestra students here, I know that the way orchestra works is that it's unweighted when you're like
in high school.
In high school, but then you can actually take honors orchestra and it's weighted. So I don't know
The
how
third
many.
year.
Yeah, the third year. So
It's that way for, you can request that like theater, band, orchestra, art. There's several like that you can do once
Dance.
you do. Dance.
Yeah.
So is there anything else we basically understand?
Let me see my notes here. I think what you all were talking about when during Diane's activity is super important. Like getting down to the nitty gritty, and in terms of a 10th grader saying, "Gosh, I wish I hadn't, I hadn't taken keyboarding," and that.
Say that.
Oh, okay.
He didn't say that at all. No, he just wants to get it aside.
I got you. Okay. Well, then let me use another example. In terms of an 11th grader looking back on 8th grade and saying, "Dang, I wish I had tried harder in geometry, and this is really like bringing me down a point right now, or a smidgen of a point." I don't necessarily think. I think that being reflective on things in our past is important. And maybe that experience will sort of lend itself to freshman year of college, when a lot of kids have a real slippery grade experience in their first year of college. So again, all things, not to get into my Bay Area hippie talk, but all things, even little slips when you're in middle school, they're going to serve a purpose. And even if it does sort of, it's easy to ascribe, I didn't get into Stanford because of my B plus in geometry in 8th grade. I just don't want to believe that that's how the system works. So it might, but in LASA, in some of the schools, the other high schools are very competitive, and I understand it. And all they're talking about, the kids in themselves are talking about it, and there is a competitive spirit, which is healthy on one hand, but trying to monitor that, I think, is also our job as adults in their world. So,
Ryan, one other thing I'd heard related to that is I guess the kids take interviews when they are looking at colleges, and if they've only taken the drone classes because they had to take them, when the interviewer's looking for their verve and their spirit, it's just not going to be there.
Exactly. So passionate
Yeah.
independent,
So let,
this is
let
who I
them
am.
do what they want.
I mean, just to talk about a student with whom I work at McCallum, she's, I don't know, ranked maybe 25th, 27th, and she has a full-time job, and she doesn't have straight A's, and she is really interested in social work, and she's volunteered around town at different homeless shelters, and she got into the School of Social Work at UT, and that's because she knew what she wanted, she had a passion, was very, very clear about who she is and what her career path is. So those are the kinds of things that we love to hear, so.
Do we have any more questions? All right, thank you so much for tackling this kind of really confusing and difficult. Yeah, we're at the baby steps here, so that's really helpful. Do we have any questions? Go ahead.
Just to kind of wrap that all up in a nice, neat little package, I just want to go back to, I want to say to you guys, you have no idea how much I appreciate the things you say. That is absolutely beautiful to hear, because it is about the journey, and in case it's not obvious, like we as schools, and not just Keeling and not just AISD, but we do the best we can to change policies to encourage a little more focus on the journey. That's why we quit ranking everybody. That's the whole reason, because it is, and it goes back to those of you that have heard me at any of the choice sheet things. I'm sorry, you're going to hear it again. The dean of the law school at Harvard said in a meeting in Boston that I was in, you know, the most important thing that any kid possesses to help them be successful here at Harvard is grit. It's not coming in with the highest GPA. It's not, you know, it's not all of these things that are, there's these myths out there that these things are so important. But she straight up said, the most important thing that kids have to be successful at Harvard is grit. The ability to meet adversity, maybe stumble, maybe fall, maybe fail, and pick yourself back up and keep on going. So I really appreciate what you guys had to say, and I'm like, I didn't jump up and down, but I will later. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you, and thank you so much for coming in. Sure. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
Next week we had on the time last time, but we didn't have time for it. But I think we have a little bit of time for it right now. Do we have any House Bill 5 questions? I know some of them came up through the GPA. No. Well, good.
Well, good. This binder is all a work in progress still. Look, draft.
Yeah.
This is
everything is draft, right? Whatever it is, it's draft. And I'm going to go ahead and go on to our committee reports. I don't think we have a fundraising update. I think we're kind of done with that one. Jenny, you had something for book club.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to come up front? Sure.
Okay, so our book group, we're going to try to do in about a month on May, oh sorry, hey, viewers at home, in about a month at our May 8th meeting, and we're going to do Carol Dweck Mindset.
What is it?
Growth mindset.
Growth Mindset.
Growth
and
mindset.
related articles.
That's related to
See?
right there.
No,
Okay.
no, come down.
And one reason we're doing that is that there are also a lot of online articles that I can send you links to, because I know not everybody has the time to read a book, because I guess that at our last book club, because nobody had read the book, but that's okay, we still had a good time, and I hope everybody can come. But if you're not on a book club email list and you want to be, I can send you some online reading, or you can read the whole book, and that's good too. Okay, so I'm going to...
And it's called what again?
Mindset.
Mindset. Growth mindset.
Can you send the links to us, and maybe we can put
I'll
them on
include it with us.
so that everyone
In the
can
Hornet Herald.
access them?
Yes. I'll include the dates and I'll also include your email address for those of you who aren't on the book club email, would like to be, so you can go ahead and email Jenny to get on that.
Hey, can I ask you one more question? Can you give a brief explanation of what it is about?
Sure, I guess I'd be, oh.
It's, you know, she's from Stanford, and I actually worked on a research team with here at UT on a growth mindset intervention for the entire freshman class at UT. So, Carol Dweck, D-W-E-K. So the concept is that our brain is a muscle, just like any other muscle, and that you can, a fixed mindset is I'm good at math, I'm bad at math. I'm good at my flute, I'm bad at my flute. A growth mindset attitude is I'm learning a new thing, it's hard for me, I'm gonna employ some grit, perseverance, keep at it through even when I fail. The whole, 10,000 hours issue of practicing comes into play here. Get help from mentors, work hard, explore, keep at it, and then you will develop new neural pathways in your brain, which actually you can see on brain scans that happens. So a really cool intervention that we've done at Stanford and at UT with incoming freshmen is it's amazing how quick and easy this is to raise grades of incoming freshmen, because it's a big issue at UT especially for non-white students. So asking kids to reflect upon something they didn't know how to do and now they know how to do in a letter form, and I'm giving you all my secrets because this is one of my activities that I wanted to do in the fall, but basically reflect upon something in letter form that you didn't know how to do. Like when I was 5, I didn't know how to ride a bike, and then my mom took me out for the whole summer, and then you write about 5 to 10 sentences about that. Then you sort of you give them an article a real easy article about the brain and how the neural pathways, how they work and how they grow and change, and your brain isn't fixed and it grows, and you are developing neural pathways all the way throughout. And now adolescence is considered to be until 25 years old. Wow. Yeah. Yep. Just be aware of that. Neurologically, you have an adolescent until 25. So you actually show the students the brain scans and talk a little bit about the brain and how it works and grows and changes after they've done the reflection. And then the next step is to read sort of quotations from older students, or maybe we would have something like a LASA student or an 8th grader say, oh, when I first got to Keeling, it was really hard for me to organize my homework at night, and sometimes I forgot my binders, and sometimes I didn't do so well on my geometry test, but I really worked hard. I went to tutoring sessions, I talked to my teacher, I had study groups, and I really learned how to surpass what was hard for me at first. And you get lots of different quotes, you have different genders, different ages, different races, ethnicities, and so kids can see and attach to all different, it's not just one sort of representative quotation. Then the next step is to give a scenario. Say a friend of yours has just got a failing grade on a geometry test, and your friend is really upset. Write a letter to your friend of what you would say. And this also implies another of my research project, which is self-compassion, which is also a concept related to grit, which is how to work through adversity with kindness towards yourself as opposed to avoidance, which is how you would treat yourself the same way you would treat a friend. So, dear Susie, I'm so sad. I'm so sorry that you failed your geometry test, but I know you're smart and you're going to keep at it, and you're really going to not give up and go talk to your teacher before your next test, and I'll study with you and blah, 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 because they're real clear at how they would talk to a friend, whereas them to themselves. And then there's a couple options for the final little reflection they can do, but it really shows you can do that in the beginning of the year, and then do a little booster along the year as the year goes. And kids don't even know that what's really cool about it is that kids will say, oh, you'll say, and these are Stanford and UT freshmen, you'll say, do you remember that intervention? Did you remember that brain article that you did at the beginning of the, no. Oh, and if you do remember it, did it have any impact on your, well, I don't think so. But looking at the data with thousands and thousands and thousands of representatives in the sample, there's huge effect size, something like 40% overall increase in GPA. So
this is a really
it's a really timely book. Yeah, we're researching it at UT. There's a whole growth mindset lab, and it's also, what's interesting about it is it's applied to a lot of different fields, not just academia, obesity, and bullying. So that's maybe another KMag.
Yeah. Thank you.
So are you
Thank you
going to
very
be
much.
doing this with the kid? I mean,
Well, I don't know.
I'm sorry, you said something that made me think you would, so I didn't mean to put any pressure on you.
I would love to. That's my hope. I don't really know what it's going to look like next year, but that's my hope.
So definitely, yeah, so let's read the book so we know how we can deal with our kids next year. Unless you have a quick question.
Really quick, because I don't want to extend it, but I actually just took that book off my nightstand. It was somebody, I don't know if it was one of the counselors or Miss Lowe, somebody brought it up at the beginning of the school year. I got it. I didn't read it cover to cover. I recommend everybody get it. You can read it as you have time, different chapters. But there's a lot just for either bringing up your kids, thinking about yourself. There's for businesses, coaches. I actually just passed it along to my girls' swim coach, and I just want to say on a related front, he had sent me an article. So hand in hand, so there's the kids with the growth and the fixed mindset, but it's how to talk to your kids, how do you praise your kids, and I might actually forward that to you. It was from 2007, but Dweck is cited in the article, but it's how do we praise them? Oh, you're so smart, or you worked really hard at
You're
this.
trying
So,
really
and
hard at this,
I think
yeah.
it's an article probably everybody should read as a parent, but I'll go ahead and forward it to Diane.
And Jenny, what was the date of the book club?
May, I can't remember what it said. Put my finger there.
You said May 2nd.
The article?
This says May 8th.
May 8th. Whenever, about a month from now.
Okay.
It's after the KMag meeting?
Right, immediately after the KMag meeting.
Okay, oh, perfect.
Yeah, well,
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
You're going to be a 7th grade counselor next year?
That's what the paper says.
Okay, so
No, I thought that was
This year.
Oh,
Yeah,
now
she'll be
this
one of
year,
our
I'm starting,
counselors next year.
I will be starting in the next couple of weeks in the role
don't
of
the
7th
counselors
grade.
move with our kids, or am I mistaken?
Let's just say that she'll be one of our counselors.
I'm sorry, that was entirely my bad.
Oh, okay.
I came up with that out of nowhere. I don't know where I came
Yeah,
up
she
with that.
may be the 7th grade counselor.
That's yeah.
Okay.
see.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Not trying to make it, just, I was confused because I
Honestly,
thought the
have no
counselors
idea
moved.
where I came up with that. But
It's all good.
okay. Is Julie here? Does she have anything? I don't see her. Brooke is not here. She did a fantastic job, as Ms. Carter did it, and just really want to thank her for all of her hard work.
Yeah, she did a great job.
She did. Do you have a treasurer's report?
Just that we haven't gotten any new donations coming in. We've got probably, let's say, $3,000 worth of pre-approved items that are still out there that should be coming in from as expense reimbursements or they're prepaid things we're waiting to get the bills on. But that should leave us with roughly our 5, 6, 7,000 or so to be able to roll into next year at the start of the year, assuming that nothing big comes up between now and then that we're expecting.
And we've been able to get a whole lot of really awesome things. The teachers have been highly appreciative. So maybe next time we can just give you a list of all the things that, as KMag, with your help, we've been able to provide to the teachers. They really are very grateful for that, and I get thank you notes. As a co-chair, we are looking for a treasurer. We have positioned most of the other people we have, but if anyone's interested in being a treasurer, please talk to Ken for next year. This would be an assistant treasurer. It would be a two-year position, so it would be a co-treasurer. So you would do it for 2 years. The first year you'd work with Ken, and then the next year after that, you would have a different co-treasurer that would be working with you. The next bylaws, we have been updating our bylaws. We're going to get them for approval, put them out there. I think that's required. When we make a change to them, but Sandra Marks, Amy Wolf, Amy Moore, and myself have looked at that and updated them. We're going to bring them next time for us all to review. Does anyone have any other questions specifically for KMag? And I know I'm going to butcher this. Nina Francois?
Nina Francois had a sick child, so I'm
okay.
going
Do you
to
want to
speak
come
in
up
her
here and talk
place.
about that?
Okay, what she wanted to, I did this 2 weeks ago also. So it's the same thing. It's this May 10th. We're having a big picnic here, right on the Keeling grounds. And I always have to use my notes because this is such a big project. There's so much to it that I can never get it all. Okay, so it's the Keeling Gardens Spring Harvest Picnic and Peace Through Pie Social, okay? Hopefully it'll become an annual event. Hopefully it'll just be like Keeling Center Stage and people won't even know when it didn't exist, right? And it's going to be a potluck picnic, and it's celebrating the gardens and And is a big thing, the diversity of the communities, cultures and cuisines represented at Keeling. Okay, and so this agenda that Neen has prepared is just tremendous. It's huge. Okay, gardening and cooking demos, a community quilting project, the unveiling of a Keeling Middle School interactive mapping project about the buildings in the historic district, and the kids in advisory have done a little bit about that. A potluck picnic with storytelling, a community recipe and cookbook project, lots of music, including the Keeling Choir, and the Keeling and very own and brand new faculty choir. Is there a faculty choir? I didn't even realize that. Okay, cool.
Really?
And faculty choir.
Brand new?
It's not brand new anymore.
No, you said brand new.
Well, I know, but if it's, yeah, this is from a few weeks back. So anyway, basically what the major thing that Neen is looking for, and this is what I appealed to you guys before, is we don't have anybody to do the games, to head up games. She wants to do like three-legged race and all kinds of fun different games. So I do have a sheet right here that I'm going to pass around. If anybody's interested in learning more information about helping with the picnic, it is May 10th, Saturday, May 10th. Wait, May 8th, this is a Thursday, it's Saturday, May 10th, from 11 to 4, from 11 to 4. So I'm going to pass around this sheet that tells, that has name and contact information, you know, that you can fill out if you're interested. Now, I just wanted to also say while I'm up here that's also Neen's brainchild, is we are getting a composting system at Keeling, which is going to be really fun. And the what's it called? East Side Compost Peddlers are helping us. They are going to, this is this really fun group. They literally ride around on bikes. That's why they're peddlers, like pedaling. They pedal around to like East Side Pies and like, you know, Blue Dahlia and all these places, and they pick up their kitchen scraps and they bring them to urban gardens, farms. And so they're going to be bringing us, we're not doing cafeteria waste because it was a little, the custodians were having a little trouble separating out. It'll be fine when we do commercial compost next year, but we don't want meat and cheeses and all that in our compost. And so we're going to have this beautiful wooden composting system that we're going to be building with them. And we got money, we got $175 at Keeling Center Stage for it. And we also have PTA money that we're going to be doing. So listen for a work day soon about that. And the kids, the gardening elective that Lucinda Poe teaches, those kids will be part of the development of that composting system for our gardens here. Thank you. Questions? Any questions? Yeah.
All right, does anyone have any questions?
Did Ms. Carter want these back?
Oh.
Yes.
We can do.
And do we have a PTA report?
Just a couple of quick things. We had Keeling Center Stage last weekend.
Yay!
All of us were there, one way or another, through participations, through donations, sponsorships, attendance. It was fantastic seeing all the help and getting all the help that we got, so thank you very much. We are still getting all the numbers together. I think, you know, the final number, you know, probably is going to take a while, but it looks like we're, you know, we did even better than last year, so that's great. So thanks for that. And we have a PTA general meeting next Tuesday, 7:30 here in the library. PTA is also looking for many officers. So if anybody wants to be involved with PTA in any ways, PTA funds requests throughout the schools. So I know a lot of the magnet requests come through here, but you know, athletics and fine arts and everything else, you know, comes through PTA too. So it'd be great to have more involvement in PTA. That's it, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any last minute questions, comments?
Well, I just wanted to thank Susan for doing PTA does support the entire school, and we've been able to fund teacher requests for, you know, like she said, orchestra. We just funded a request on behalf of Science Olympiad, football, different athletics, and we've been able to provide support for some academy field trips because in the past academy students have not had the same access to rich
academic experiences as the magnet students have, and I think it's really important for every student here to feel equally valued and supported, and so I really, really appreciate everything Susan did.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you all very much for coming. Okay.